So my name is Lars Severin, and I'm one of the founders, and I'm currently the CTO.
Yeah, Jim Ritchie. I'm co-founder, CEO of the company, and here to talk about AEONrv.
We both actually in the high tech industry, coming from the software, and we both worked in the Silicon Valley for over 30 years.
Yeah, so as Lars said, software engineer by background, but I kind of went into the business side earlier, working in various software companies, was in sales, general management, and then started a number of software companies. Lars has also started software companies, as well as working at places like Apple and Broadcom in his career. So, like I said, we both have backgrounds in high tech. Well, interestingly enough, I was actually working on a startup while I was living in San Francisco, and was in the AI space before AI really took off with all the large language models. But I was also kind of thinking about maybe retiring one day and wanted my own RV. I'm a big skier, and I wanted a vehicle that my wife and I could take our dog and go up and enjoy skiing and do other things like we like to do, like hiking, backpacking, skiing. We also like to mountain bike, things like that. But when I looked around in the market, I thought maybe I'd build my own van, outfitted van, like a Sprinter van, or when Ford came out with the all-wheel drive transit van, I thought, wow, that's a cool platform. There were some things I didn't like about the Sprinter. So really this whole idea came about just for my own use. And then finally I decided, well, maybe building a metal van isn't really what I wanted to do. So I found these fiberglass reinforced insulated panels and thought that would be a cool thing to build a van out of or an RV out of. And that's how it all started.
Yeah, early on, Jim he showed me his design on the RV, and he asked me if I had any suggestions on the plumbing, electrical, and different stuff. So I thought it's a really cool project. So Jim knew my background too from Sweden. I used to build boats, and yeah, I'm very familiar with fiberglass, and I pretty much could do anything with any material. So he basically lured me out of my retirement because I ran out of projects to do, and he had a friend that had a hangar in Petaluma, and so he invited me to come down there, and I thought I was going to supervise him and let him know share my knowledge of fiberglass and cabinetry and so forth. And so when I showed up there, I asked him, "Where's your crew?" And he said, "It's you and me." I said, well, like I said, I ran out of projects. I thought that this is pretty cool. So we started building it down there in the hangar.
Well, primarily it was, like I said earlier, I was thinking about getting a vehicle. So I was thinking maybe I'd build something. I looked at all the RVs that were on the market from the normal, the Winnebago stores, Forest Rivers, and there's a few things I didn't like about them. One, that I perceived the quality to not be up to the standards I'd want in just terms of how they run the wiring, the materials they use, and the design seemed to be a little old school to me, not very kind of cutting edge or high tech. And they used materials that look like they've been around for quite a long time in how they constructed their RVs. These are Class C RVs built on like a Transit or a Ford chassis. And they would build them typically with like a plywood floor and an aluminum frame. They put some insulation, put some skins on them, maybe put an EPDM rubber roof on the top. And I just thought, that's not really something I want. I want something a little bit more high tech, software controlled. I want something that's much better insulated. I don't have to worry about, getting frost inside or anything like that. And I also wanted something that all ran off electricity or battery powered. And a lot of RVs then and even today still use propane as one of their major heating sources for water and air heating, as well as, using it for cooking. So really, it just came about because I wanted something that was a little bit more modern, and it didn't exist on the market. So I thought, why not design it and build it and just build one? That's really what, like Lars said, it was just going to be one unit. And I was the story was, yeah, help me out, but you can use it, when I'm not using it. That was really how it came about. And then once we got the prototype, about 80% of the way built, we started showing it around to people, and people were really excited about it and said, hey, I'd buy that. We ended up last minute signing up for Overland Expo in Colorado. It was a new show. We got a spot last minute, decided to drive it overnight to the show. We didn't even have a website or any marketing materials. We just showed up, slapped a logo on the outside of it, and got a lot of people excited about it. I think we got 5 press articles written about it. So, that's how it all kind of came to be. We didn't start out to actually build a company. We started out to build an RV that we would like to use that kind of met our design criteria and our, aesthetic criteria. Well, when you're starting a company, there's a couple challenges these days. One is getting a URL that's short. So if you want a .com URL, you have to get something that's, and also the word Aeon means, it's an old Greek word. It's a derivative eon. So it means something. There's a couple of meanings, but it can mean something can last a long time, that's been around for a long time. And also it just happened to be, I figured out how to make it a nice acronym with the major features of the vehicle that I wanted. One being the A for all season, the E for electric cabin, the O for off-road and off-grid capabilities, and the N for new and high tech. So that's how the name came about. AEONrv, the URL was available when I went to get it. So that was how it all came about.
Yeah, there are a few other companies that are also named Aeon, but they obviously didn't get the URL.
Well, no one's named AEONrv, so we got that URL.
Probably the biggest challenge when we built the shell was the fact there was only 2 of us. And the floor, the back wall, the roof are very heavy. So we had to use like old Egyptian techniques, to get these things in place. And we had almost a disastrous failure when we put down the back wall. It would just Jim and me, and I think it took us 45 minutes to get that back wall up, and by that time the glue had almost dried. But we were so exhausted that we didn't even want to try to pull it off again. So we kept it the way it was.
Yeah. One of the unique design features of the AEONrv is it's all put together with marine adhesives. These are polyurethane adhesives. The wonders of modern adhesives, if you don't know, many modern high-tech things are put together or glued together. Things like a Tesla, as an example, or the wings on a Boeing 787, or how the new generations of fighter jets are put together. They're all glued together with high-tech adhesive. So our vehicles also glued together. It's made out of fiberglass reinforced insulated panels, and it's glued together with fiberglass extrusions called pultrusions. And as Lars said, we hadn't built anything with this technology before, so there was a lot of learning curves. But you don't get a lot of learning, because if you mess something up, it's pretty unforgiving. That adhesive dries quickly, and you really don't get a lot of mistakes. Luckily, somehow we made our way through it, and the vehicle that we built as a prototype, we still use as our mobile support vehicle and show vehicle. So it actually is, still out there working in good stead.
We could drive it just after 2 weeks, but of course there was nothing in the house itself. So it's like you're building a cabin, right? It takes you, a couple of weeks to frame it and another 9 months to finish it off. So
yeah.
But to answer your question, when did we fire it up the first time? It probably took us about 3 months to get the plumbing, electrical, and the cabinetry in place.
Add a little color on that. So when I initially started thinking about this, I was just designing it in CAD for fun at night while I was living in San Francisco, and there was probably about 6 months of kind of ideation, or me just designing it in CAD before we decided to try to build a prototype. And then I had to order some materials, order a transit van, cutaway chassis, get the panels designed and ordered. So that took another 3 months to get all that. So from kind of the original idea to before we could even start working on the prototype, that was about 9 months. And then it took us a good full year to build the prototype, to kind of get it to fully to completion. We were showing it off within another 9 months after we started building the prototype, but there were still a lot of things that weren't quite done. We were testing and like a new bumper design, a new things like that. So there was still quite a bit of happening before we really jumped into what I call the second phase of the company, which was building the first 7, what I would call beta units, if you will, or this next 7 vehicles. And that's when we hired our first employee, Matt Sewell, who runs our manufacturing operation. So it's only been 3 years since we really started hiring employees and building up the manufacturing capabilities of the company.
Well, I want to add something also. You asked me what was challenging. So I was tasked with doing all the cabinetry, and one of my biggest challenges was to figure out how I can make Jim not to make any changes after I cut all the wood, and it was quite a challenge, because he gave me numbers and I started cutting it, and then he came back an hour later and said, "No, I didn't want you to start cutting it yet." And I said, "Well, it's too late. This is what we're going with." So
yeah, there's a lot of that. Obviously, there's building the first unit. We didn't really know what we were doing, so we had a design, but we obviously had to translate the design from CAD to the ability to manufacture it and get it actually installed. And obviously since then there's been, I would say probably thousands of minor improvements to all aspects of the build and design, which translates into probably 100 major or 100 improvements that you could really kind of talk about.
Yeah, so when we first built the prototype, we used a table saw that I found on Nextdoor. Of course, it was free. It was it wasn't the highest quality. I think the saw was probably 50 years old, and if you look at the prototype today, it actually looks almost exactly the same as a production unit looked like. But of course, it was built with inadequate equipment. So now we have a really fancy CNC machine, and what's our engineers have been able to do, by pre-drilling everything in the panels, in the cabinetry. So the effects that are assembling the cabinetry, doesn't have to use a measuring tape, doesn't have to use a drill, it doesn't even have to think. It's a huge improvement for us to have a really fancy CNC machine, and our engineers have been really, really spectacular the way they have basically simplified the way we're building the interior.
So add a little more color to that. When I talk about the company, I said earlier the first phase was ideation. The second phase was building the prototype, just to kind of test the market, if you will. Then we spent about another 9 months after we hired Matt, hiring a few other first engineer, mechanical engineer, some of our first RV technicians. What I would say, validating the market by getting builds out into customers' hand and getting feedback. So we're very big about getting feedback directly from the customer. And those first vehicles, we were involving every build, almost, I wouldn't say it was a custom build, but we were taking feedback from each build and getting better. We're all about continuous improvement. And that led us into what I would say kind of the third phase of the company after that, which was really scaling manufacturing. So that's when we went from 4,000 feet of manufacturing space a year and a half ago to 35,000 square feet. And then almost a year, it'll be coming up a year in September, we're now in 70,000 square feet. So not only do we have much, more advanced machinery to build parts like our CNC router, our edge bander. We have other automated drilling and equipment and such, but it's really about the process and documenting everything. So we spent a lot of time with our engineering team getting every single part into CAD. We use SolidWorks, and getting everything documented in what we call process instructions. All of our RV techs, we use tablet computers. So when they are on the production line, they can see on a tablet what they need to do next. They have a set of process instructions, and it will tell them exactly what tools they need to use to install this part or do this next step, how to do it, how long it should take, all the information they have. And so that's been a huge, huge effort on our part, getting all of our steps, if you will, documented as process instructions. And that's always ongoing. So we're always trying to get better. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, we hired our first full-time quality assurance engineer that's really digging into that. And now we're kind of taking it the next step of quality. And that's one thing we've always been focused on, is really documenting and creating checklists for quality. And that's just going to continue as we grow the company.
Well, one of our core philosophies is always be innovating. So one of our biggest challenges is just growing the company, as I said, through the right documentation, training, bringing on quality people as we scale up while keeping the quality. It's been a challenge, but I think we've been, especially with Matt's leadership in running manufacturing operations, we've done a great job of that. Here, we love being in Reno. Reno's a great place for us because we hire people to fit with the culture of the company, which is an outdoor-oriented lifestyle company. So we look for people that like to enjoy the outside, want to get out and, hike, ski, do all the things you could do here in Reno. And we've been very successful in getting really great people to work for us. I think it also helps that we pay fairly, we get good benefits, and I think people generally like to work for AEONrv. So the challenges are just really scaling the business while keeping the same quality. So we don't focus on getting awards, but, early on we were recognized by EDON, which is an organization here in Northern Nevada, as being one of the entrepreneurship and innovative companies in the manufacturing space. That was a year and a half ago. And then, like you said, we just last night actually had a celebration with NSET, which is Nevada Center of Entrepreneurship and Technology, and they recognized AEONrv as the manufacturing company of the year. So that was a great accomplishment for the team. And we got some nice, little awards over here for that, as well as some recognition from the governor and our state, our federal senator, and other local people, including the mayor of Reno. So it's nice to get recognized, being part of the community, and really giving back to the community. And like I said, we're really just focused on building the company. The big milestones we're going to hit. We're going to deliver our 100th vehicle here in the next few months. We're going to deliver a total of 100 this year, so we'll be well over 130 vehicles in total delivered by the end of the year. And as we're growing the team, I think we're up almost to 55 employees now, where, a year and a half ago, there was 8 of us. So we've been growing the company quite dramatically.
Yeah, it's been amazing how successful we've been at hiring the right people. I would say that out of the first 50 people we hired, everyone is still here. It's always a challenge when you hire hourly people too. You never know what you're going to get. But we have some good agencies that helped us also sort out the better quality candidates from us, not have to spend all our time interviewing people. So I would say almost every other person they send over we hire, and that's been I think a huge help in getting the right support for getting the staffing correctly. We get the interns from UNR. We just had one that started this week. We had 3 of them last year. And I don't know if we're going to do any more, but we've been really successful with the interns too, and they love it over here too. They don't they don't get bogged down in just one task. They get to try almost everything they'll do in there. But they're typically are engineering focused, so they're not out on the floor building the units. So they're more supporting our like Jim was saying, our process instructions and helping us doing yeah, a lot of engineering work.
Yeah, specifically, it's the mechanical engineering department at the University of Nevada, Reno. And then the program that we're working with is great because it's also supported by the state of Nevada. So we actually get, you know, when we hire these interns, we get, some help to actually offset their salary costs. So it's a great partnership between the University of Nevada, Reno, local manufacturing businesses, and the state. And obviously, the students get great hands-on learning in a real-world environment versus, just doing their normal, book work, if you will. So it's a great opportunity for them as well.
We have hundreds of those things. But I mean, one of our goals in the company is to bend over backwards we're almost like obsessed with customer support. So we encourage customers to contact us right away if they find any issues or need help with anything, like any questions. And out of the first, 10 beta units we had, of course, the first one we delivered, we have visited the gentleman or the couple that live in Virginia on the East Coast. We visit them over 3 times that we've flown over there and done support when they have problems. And we're going to visit them again in the next month and to do some more support. So they've been really, really happy with the product and the support they got. And we also have a mobile support team right now that also are going across the country. They've been across a couple of times, but most of the support is going on here on the West Coast so far. So that's we're obsessed with customer support. It's kind of interesting because I made a map of it. I thought most of them was going to be here on the West Coast, but it turns out it's kind of well divided between the 3 or 4 different time zones. We actually have 13 customers on the East Coast. I think there's 11 in Central, and I think there's about 20 in Mountain, and about 25 on the West Coast.
Yeah, they're from Alaska to Southern California to Maine to Florida. So they're all over the place. So we're really happy about that. So another couple of unique things I think that I want to point out is there's a user group that we don't run or control on Facebook that has, I don't know, upwards of maybe 1,000 people on it. We do post on that, but we get great feedback off that. So it's a great place for customers and potential customers to actually share information about the AEONrv, and we're happy to, I'll make comments, people ask questions. So that's a great resource. So one of our early customers created that. So that was really nice for them to do that and continue to support that. And we also, like to survey our customers to just get feedback. So we've done things like Net Promoter Score. We got a very high Net Promoter Score from our first 50 customers. And what that means is it's just, would you be willing to recommend the product to, a family or friends? And so getting a high score there really just kind of gives us another indication we're on the right track with both the product quality as well as, what kind of support we're giving to people. So as Lars said, we are customer obsessed. I know a lot of companies kind of give lip service to that, but I think we really actually execute to that. And I think our customers would agree with that.
Yeah, I was going to add to the Facebook group has over 850.
I thought it was 1,000. I just said 1,000.
Oh, you didn't say? Oh, well, I just checked. There's 850. More than 850. It could be 1,000. But it's interesting is that they every month, the first Tuesday every month, they actually have a Zoom call. There's one other customer that arranged it, and a couple of months ago they invited me there, and I thought it was going to be for an hour, but I was just pelted with questions, and I mean, it was quite interesting to see what kind of questions they had, and they were really thankful that I joined them on that meeting. So it's a very nice environment for our customers and potential customers as well.
Yeah. So as not only as a CEO, I also am the head product manager. So we do have a new model coming out. Unlike most RV companies, we don't pre-announce the vehicle. We actually release the vehicle on the chassis of the same year as well. So we're building our first 2025 model year AEONrvs on 2025 Ford Transit Cutaway chassis. And we'll be announcing and delivering the first of those vehicles in mid-June. So there'll be a press release. What I can tell you right now is we've made a lot of refinements. I would say incremental refinements that help us with the quality of the product, the serviceability, and the overall ease of use. Big things are really we're focused on is more customizable going forward. So we now have two different colors available for the cabinets, both a light color and a medium dark color. People have been asking about that, where previous we just had a light color. And then one of the other big things we're doing is we used to offer two different paint options, a silver and a gray color, light gray, in addition to the base white color. But now we're going to build all the vehicles as white and then offer wraps. So wraps is going to be like a paint protection wrap in various colors, where the customer can select a color that they want it to be wrapped with, and you'll get, depending on the product, anywhere from a 7 to 10 year warranty. So that's going to be exciting. Customers have asked about other color options and other flexibility. So we're going to be providing more options on how the vehicle looks. And so that'll be, I think, fun for people. And as part of that, we are focusing on a lot more marketing activities. One big thing is a new website that will be rolling out at the same time. And when we roll that new website out, we'll also have a visual configurator, so the customers can actually play around and see what the vehicle will look like with different wraps and things like that. So we'll look forward to that. That'll be fun, I think, for customers as well, to get a better idea of what the vehicle would look like going forward.
And the wraps they're cheaper than paint, right?
Yeah, they're less expensive from the customer. Right now, we charge $10,000 for paint, and we haven't finalized the pricing on that. And one of the other things we already announced, but also be coming with the 2025 model year, is extended warranties. So right now we have what we feel is a best-in-class 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty end-to-end for the product, and a 10-year warranty on the integrity of the box itself against leaks and structural, which I think is fairly unheard of. But we're going to offer extended warranties where you can extend that 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty to up to, like, say, an additional 3 years or additional 5 years, or maybe even additional 7 or 10 years. We're still finalizing the final details of that, but that'll be rolling out here in the next few weeks as well. Yeah, in addition to that, on our website, we have a whole event calendar. So various events we're attending across the United States, overland expos and other van type meetups. And then we're also going to be doing a road show where we drive the new show vehicle across the country, and we will set up various meetups where, people can come check the vehicle out in the evening, say from like 5 to 7 p.m. And that whole schedule will be published later this year on our website. So get people a little closer to the vehicle, where, if you live in Minneapolis, we may not be attending a show there, but you'll be able to get a lot closer and come and check it out. Well, the big vision, I think, is just continue to grow. So we really want to bring our vehicle to more people. We think there's a lot of people that haven't heard of us yet. So there's a big opportunity to just build awareness, and that's some of our new marketing focus is going to be obviously on just more awareness, more brand awareness, more customer awareness. And we just think there's a big opportunity. People like the vehicle. We're going to try to scale our manufacturing in our current facility. I think we can double our production next year. So we're talking, up in maybe 200 plus vehicles next year. And then we'll take it from there. But our main focus is continuing to building an RV that's customers love, it's all season, it's high tech, and providing an experience where the customers get the great support that they deserve so they can go out and use the vehicle and enjoy it and build experiences, enjoy nature. That's really what it's all about. And that's what we're about, is letting our customers have great experiences with the AEONrv.